Hello and welcome to another wonderful talk on the Positive Future for Health podcast. And today we have a returning guest, Ben Simmonds. First of all, he came to the podcast recently talking about past life progression, which is interesting. Do go and have a look at that. But tonight he's joining us to talk about the inner child therapy, and I feel the vibes. This is something very, very special. I just feel, I don't know whether we're soul connections, Ben, or something. I just feel very, very relaxed in your company, or maybe it's just you. I just feel it's very interesting, a connection. And inner child therapy, I was just mentioning to Ben before we came on that most people who come to me, as some of you know, I specialize in helping people clear long-term pain or chronic conditions. But I know that that's just the beginning of the story. And and as Ben said, he said it's about 90%. It's actually childhood experiences that that come in, they filter into our entire adult life. And so I'm so excited he's going to be talking about this very special area of healing and therapy, in inner child therapy. So Ben, how did you get into all of this?
Well, interesting story. If you've seen the past life regression talk we did, I spoke to a shaman that started my story and basically started doing therapy training. And I did Reiki, then I did hypnotherapy, and then past life regression. And then I was aware of a chap called Steve Burgess, who has also done some advanced past life regression training with me. He's absolutely amazing, and he's written a couple of books, so worth checking out. Now he ran a inner child therapy course, which was down in Kent. So I thought I would go and have a look. I just felt drawn to it, and I think with anything in life, if you feel like it feels right,
Yeah,
then go with
absolutely.
it. Go with it, because
I love
like
it.
yeah, it's really there as a an open doorway, really, an opportunity, and it's really important, I think, to recognize that if it doesn't feel right, then don't do it.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that's so significant these days, that in the last many years, it's all about achieve, 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 beat the other, be better than the other, get a bigger car, bigger house, blah, blah.
Yes.
And these last 5 years, I feel it's been real shove to make us go within. And what with we're going into the age of Aquarius with astrology, this is all about connecting, all about tuning within, all about connecting with you and each other and telepathy and all that sort of thing. So I
Yes.
think I totally with you on that one. Following, not everybody does so, do they? Some people spend a lifetime not following their own guidance.
Absolutely. And I think with this, I have kind of gone into these training situations with an open mind, and putting them all together into what is kind of my unique way of doing things. It all comes together, and it all has its place within the therapy that I do. And obviously, it's mostly regression, and inner child therapy is essentially regression into your younger life.
Yes, exactly. And you were saying earlier that just off camera that some people can't go to past lives or don't have the belief or some or blocked or something. So you have to take them through perhaps inner child therapy. Can you just explain a bit more about all of that? How does that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so a lot of people come to the fairs where I do the past life regression, or to an actual session with me, and I do explain to them that in certain cases, I find that people cannot necessarily go back to a past life because the subconscious mind is kind of guiding you through this, and it will say, "Well, it's all very well you want to go back to a past life, but what about this life? That's it's like if you're trying to get to this town and there's a tree on the road, then
Let's sort this one out first.
at first, like you're not going off on a jolly down to 1653 or whatever, and when we need to deal with when you were seven, you know.
Yeah,
So
what about that?
exactly. So
Okay,
yeah, like
brilliant.
that I find is a big thing with the subconscious, and it also it kind of almost says, right, well, yeah, if you want to do this, then we need to deal with it. It's like you're not getting around it, you know.
That's it. Door closed. but then you've got these other abilities, and of course, behind all of this beautiful healing stuff that you do and how you help people, your other life is a photographer. Can you just say a little bit about your photography life? Who are you, Mr. Photographer? What's that
Yeah.
past?
So Ben Simmons Photography has been running for nigh on 20 years now, and I do
Oh,
been shooting weddings mainly. Before that, some wildlife and landscapes, but primarily the weddings and a few portraits, which is really exciting, and that's been a great career I've had, and that's continuing. And so I now run that alongside what I do with the therapies, and it's nice because it's obviously busy in the summer for that, and potentially more busy in the winter for the therapy side. So,
and you're very successful at that. And so get a bit of healing, have your photograph done. But I was just
well,
thinking that
strange you say that actually, because we are actually running. We'll be running workshops which potentially incorporates both. So, yeah.
really, gosh, interesting. That'll be an interesting mix. And I was thinking, like, if you're a photographer, surely you have an artistic view and you know colors and form and light. And I thought this is not far from therapy, though, because that's all about. I mean, before I became a professional hands-on healing therapist, my hobby jobs were analyzing people with unusual things like palmistry and runes and graphology, or looking in and observing posture, and and so I wondered whether, like, your photography, well, you're joining it now, aren't you? And I wondered whether it's not far away from helping people, isn't it? Making them look lovely and getting them to smile, and you must be, I guess you must be feeling the vibes of the mood of people, or the mood of the scenery that you're shooting. And I feel like in my mind it seems it's the same kind of world. It's just a different approach, really.
Yeah, I think primarily we will be starting off with confidence boosting dynamics in terms of the therapy. So the pictures will literally just be like a reflection upon the person and the start of their journey, moving through that confidence healing path that they're going to be doing on. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty more of opportunities down the road for different things. So
Lovely. So it's like a pictorial diary of the healing progress.
yeah, pretty much that's the idea, I think. And
Lovely.
sometimes when you are on the healing path, day by day, it's hard to sometimes see the progress you've made. But then, like, when someone or something is shown to you on a picture, or someone says something, "I look, remember what you were like, 6 months ago,"
Mm.
then suddenly you can really see the difference, and it is quite astounding in some cases.
I bet, because the picture says 1,000 words, and your eyes show your soul and the way that you position, and the pallor on your skin, and if your hair's, if you're very down, it's going to be a really different vibe to if you're feeling so good inside. And I think that's it's a very interesting idea, very intriguing. So
Thank you.
coming into the tell us more about the inner child work. How so it might be somebody who can't do past life progression, or they ask you for inner child work. What sort of, how would they know they needed it from you? What would what kind of symptoms do you help with, or do you talk and then you figure out which of your abilities you're going to help them with? How do they know if they need inner child work?
I think in a lot of cases, people come to it almost by accident through just sitting down and talking to somebody about their issues. And I would say most, if not all, people have some kind of stuff that's happened to them in their childhood. Now, that doesn't mean to say that they've been through years of abuse. It could be something simple like they lost their teddy bear at the train station and they didn't
Yeah.
tell anybody. For instance, it dropped down but by the train, or something so what seemingly insignificant to an adult could be massively traumatic to a child. Um,
Yeah.
could be anything like they dropped a cup, or someone shouted at them and didn't even maybe swear at them or something, but it hit them in a certain way, And so
Mm,
that is still trauma. So that trauma to them is as big as what we consider serious trauma to somebody else. So
mm.
everybody's got something.
Everybody, and and as you say, it can be just a small thing because to that child, that's massive. Like mum was angry and shouted at them, or they got smacked, or they couldn't find mummy or something. I mean, that's their living being, isn't it? That's their whole world.
Yes.
So to a little child, it's massive. I remember doing reflexology on this woman, and which is like a massage on the feet, if you don't know. And the moment I touched her foot, I had this electric shock. And I said to her, have you ever had electric shock? Oh, no, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, well, maybe a relationship shock or a life shock. And then as we started to talk, she goes, oh, yeah, well, there was that time when I was 3, and she had her cot beside an open wire, can you believe? Where she put her little fingers and she touched and she got a shock. And that was something that was in the body memory. And not it wasn't even that, it was more than that. Her mother didn't come. So first of all, she's had this horrible shock, poor little thing, at 3, and then nobody comes. And it ricocheted through her life. And it's interesting that we sort of don't I think when we get to adults, we forget the mindset of ourselves when we were little, that it's massive, and it sets up the behavior behind the scenes of who you are as an adult.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
We mentioned before about attachment styles as well, which is something else that I'm working on to provide as a therapy within all of this. But yeah, little things like, well, say little things, big things like that, or things like that have a massive effect. And through the child inner child therapy, well, how I learned to do it was there was 5 different stages from baby up to adult that you go through: school, preschool, and the teenage years. I think that I am very much guided with all this stuff through the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind always knows exactly where to go. And so, rather than spending a long time on the baby scenario, if everyone's got a period of their life where it was potentially the worst, so like sometimes it's teenager, sometimes it's before you go to school or whilst you're at school, and so we tend to sort of focus in on that a bit more. It's nice to get a bit of structure, so starting off with the baby period. Then there's also, we can run into the birthing, rebirthing, which is another aspect of inner child and arguably past life regression. So you can go through that process again and almost start again like a blank canvas. There's a whole load of
Yeah.
things that can be intertwined and interacted with all this. Um, but the inner child therapy, yeah. So going back into doing the blocks is good, but then at some point, one of those sections will become the big one. Um, and so, for instance, if a child has been bullied at school, we can then really focus in on that scenario. And it's really a case of going back and undoing and reliving those things, and it's not pleasant. Again, it can be scary, it can be big, and frightening in some cases to go back and. But to be quite honest, if you've got the guts to sit there and go back through those emotions, we can clear them in like 20 minutes, half an hour. So
Oh well.
literally, yeah, literally, it's like rubbing it off of a whiteboard. Um, these things that Johnny did to you when you were 7, when you were in school, that's been haunting you for your whole life, we can
Mm.
literally erase it.
Wow, beautiful. And
Yeah.
it's funny, isn't it? It's nothing really. It's nothing, but we make things real. We make things have meaning and power over us. And it's because of the child state, though, isn't it? Because we take it on emotionally. And I find that I like to say everything's okay until it's not. And you say that, if you want to just clear, some serious deep stuff, or and it just goes in 20 minutes. But then it has to be people are ready for that, because some people love to do the healing journey and their cleansing, clearing all the time, I guess. But most people just live life, and everything's okay until it's not. I mean, I've got a big fibroid, and I want to do speaking. I want to share my thing, and it was a big, massive block because I can't stand on a stage looking pregnant, and I know I've got to deal with my stuff. So I have been, and it's not easy. Healing is simplicity itself. It's just like a breath. But healing our stuff is not easy because I feel like our child, or we sort of protect it or block it. We don't want to go there to that horrible feelings, those horrible experiences. What do you do with people's blocks? How do you navigate that?
In a lot of cases, people will try to avoid going back to certainly those situations where they're really uncomfortable, and they will try and kind of stalk you away from it as much as possible. Um, and I've had people that literally said, "Oh, I just can't do it, can't do it," and um, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, kind of thing. And with
Yeah,
with all this stuff, it's like people need it, but like unless they're ready, and it's really their path, and all you're doing is opening the door and providing a platform, providing the space for them to do the work. And then I
exactly.
do encourage people then to go off and do that, continue that work in their own time, because to be blunt, sitting there for an hour doing a bit of breath work is going to really move you forward. But if you really want to get into the proper stuff, you got to do it, and spend a lot of time on it.
It is because it might be a lifetime of stuff. I mean,
Well,
I
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I like to think that if I like to think that keep talking. My daughter's knocking at the door. Just animals. I work
Yeah.
with them.
Oh, you're gonna blush, Yeah. So yeah, talking about the amount of work that you got to do. Not saying it's like thousands of hours, but it depends. And I think also you've got to imagine like all the times and the years that those things have taken to build up. Even if you were to spend a tenth of that time undoing it, still a fair amount of time that you're going to have to put in. And you think about a job, how much time you put into a job, or if you're building something, like in your garden or even a house, how long that takes. Well, what you're doing here is you're dismantling a house. You're taking out the pictures, the furniture, the TV, all the stuff inside. Then you are taking down the walls. Then you're taking down the structure of the house and
Yeah,
potentially the entire house, and then all this plumbing and the electrics. And so you're re back to the structure, and then you're rebuilding it back up again.
that's a lovely analogy, and very easy to understand it like that, Ben. That's a great analogy, and it is, and I like to think, none of us are perfect, and it's not about getting it right, getting it wrong. It's just do you want to find peace with your thing? Really, it's at the essence of it. And so I like to, as I said, everything's okay until it's not, until
Mm.
I find that life sort of, I mean, the first time I talked about my childhood things, I was not until 30. And 30, and just a flippant flyaway comment to a friend, and I thought, oh, did I say that? But, I knew that life was nudging me. And here I am wanting to get out there and speak on stages and things, or am, but then I don't want to be seen for this. So it's clear that, it's like brings me to a question, what are you going to do, Althea? It's like it doesn't for life doesn't force you usually. It sort of gives you messages and nudges, isn't it? And
Yeah,
here,
I think
sorry.
it's very good that you said everything's okay until it's not, because in most cases people operate on this kind of situation where they're just getting on with stuff, and then suddenly everything just goes crazy, like explodes over, spills over. I can't cope. The slightest thing can end up with you're just feeling like it's the end of the world. And essentially, if you imagine we've all got an emotional cup, and if it's filled up with all these traumas that you get from childhood in essence, and then repeat those things throughout your younger adult life and going into your older adult life, then of course anything that gets put into that cup, like the car breaking down, or you lost your job, or I don't know, someone has a go at you, simple things, suddenly that starts spilling over. So by going
Yeah.
into any kind of therapy, but this therapy we're talking about today, you're going into the bottom of the cup. You're taking with a spoon. You're taking this stuff out. You're removing all of this trauma, all of these blocks, all of these patterns that have been passed down to you from parents and teachers and whatever. And then the cup is not as full. And so when something happens, you're like, it's fine, I got this.
Yeah. Makes
Basically.
complete sense. Can you share with us some experiences you've had with people, or their experiences, and maybe memorable ones, or maybe challenging ones, or funny ones?
Yeah, sure. I think for the most part, a lot of the times we get issues with the parents, one or the other. Generally, it's one or the other that are controlling or potentially narcissistic. There are abusive ones as well. Some of them are not nice to listen to or to hear. But the most important thing with any of this is that it's okay to talk about this stuff and feel safe. A lot of the times we work with people on Zoom, so they're in the safety of their own homes.
Oh, right, that's good.
They feel like they can just be
Switch you
themselves.
off, or be
Yeah,
themselves.
they can be themselves, and I think it's just nice. It's just nice and more comfortable for them to do that. I do obviously go see people, and people come see me sometimes, but Zoom is or video call, whatever. Even on audio, we can do it over the phone. Don't necessarily have to see people.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, going back to the cases, yeah, sometimes you get situations which really are not pleasant. But there's a lot of, parents controlling and, the way they react to behaviors and how they try to get kids to do certain things a certain way because they've been told how to do that when they were young. So a lot of this stuff is compounded over generations going back 7 generations, whatever generations. And it's just shocking to see really, but what you're by doing this stuff, what you're doing is you're breaking the chain of this. So if you've got kids, if you've got young kids or even older kids, you can be the one that breaks the chain. And if enough people break the chain, the whole world becomes a better place.
It does, and the peace and the happiness comes. But when people go through that, so obviously they must feel ready, and allowing themselves to let you do that for them, help them to do that. But what about their world around them? So say they find peace and let go of traumas and things. What about their siblings, their family, the people around them? What's do you know what happens for people like that, for the people around them?
How do you mean?
Well, if someone's I mean, I think when someone's healing, you give off you come into a good place and you give off that vibe to everything and everyone around you. But sometimes family don't want you to change. They like to sort of hold the secrets and hold the behaviors or hold the traumas, and no, and it's all, don't get out of line.
Oh, 100%. There's so many situations where I've seen where um that people are, around in the families are like, oh, you've changed, or what's wrong with you? Why are you being like this? Why are you, going off and doing all this stuff, this weird stuff. um and it is big. It's a big change for the family. It's a big change for people around and partners as well and kids. And but I think that person's driven to evolve and to change. And in some cases, I've seen they've really started to put down their own boundaries. So things that maybe that they were um, kind of let people walk all over them a little bit before. Suddenly now they start to bring in these boundaries, their own boundaries, and say, "Well, no, I'm not. I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. I feel like this about it." And so they're starting to come into their own and have their own sort of thoughts and opinions on things, whereas before they would kind of almost be allowing people to walk all over them.
And what's your take on it, Ben? Why are you doing all this? Where's your your um your power coming from? What's the um your goal? What's your vocation here? Do you think you came into this life to be a healer and you're naturally drawn to these things? You certainly follow your instincts, which is lovely. Um, and are you the great healer? Do you hold space, or what's your take on it, that what you're doing in your life for people? Because you're obviously helping a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from a personal point of view, like everybody, there were things in my childhood that affected me. Um, in the great scheme of things, it wasn't horrendous, but again, it's a case of there's always things that get you that can seem massive, and I'm fascinated by how certain behaviors from parents, caregivers, can kind of really affect you in such a way, and especially with attachment styles, that is a really fascinating subject, which
That
I'm very into.
that.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, but in terms of how that translates, I very much believe that I am quite good at telling people or sort of pointing people in the right direction as to what maybe they should be doing.
Mm.
um, Not telling them, because I do like to sort of suggest it as much as possible. Again, leading the horse to water,
Yeah.
um, using the intuition, and having a very good connection with sort of higher selves, etc., spirit guides and stuff. I can usually sort of say, "Oh, have you thought about maybe trying to do Reiki or whatever?" I think, or tarot reading. You think you'd be really good at tarot reading, and so I like to think I can sort of help people go in that direction with certain things, and that seems to be quite successful. With healing, yeah, obviously I do a lot of hands-on shamanic healing as well, uh,
Yeah.
which I can kind of intertwine with this. It's not always necessary. A lot of the inner child and past life regression work is work that you're kind of doing yourself in that scenario, and
Kind of getting tuned into you.
sorry.
It's a kind of healing is kind of tuning into you, listening and going within, allowing the release that you need. You were going to say something. I'm sorry, I should have interrupted you. What you were going to say something.
Yeah, so with regard to the regression healing, a lot of the work is done internally themselves, but sometimes people do need a bit of a help physically with the removal of an energy, for instance. And that's where the other healing can come in handy if we're in person. Yeah.
And so when people come into for inner child therapy with you, do you talk to people? Do you sit them down and just talk to them, say what's the problem? What's it like? What's a session like with you?
Yeah, well,
Just
it's
talk
very
it,
much.
yeah.
I really try to make it as friendly as possible, and obviously they're coming for a session, but I like to try and be friendly and for them to be relaxed, really, because at the end of the day, you've got to potentially unearth your most deepest secrets to this person, and I don't want to come across as too serious, but at the same time, professional. So yeah, it's a case of just providing that safe, friendly environment for the people to sort of just start talking about those things, and then we'll go into potential issues. Again, people will skirt around the problems as much as possible because they know that situation with mum that they had to deal with when they were 6 or whatever, is the last thing they want to talk about, and they will do pretty much anything to get around talking about it. But eventually,
You
hopefully, it
get
comes out. Yeah, hopefully that's the goal. And
It's
yeah,
interesting, isn't it? Because somebody comes to you, but it's not easy. That's I guess we protect that inner child with by all measures. I know some people it's very hard for them to heal, and they hold it physically in their bodies with back pain and migraines and whatever it is, and it's almost like that manifesting condition is easier to deal with and make it a thing than to deal with what's actually creating it. Where does that stuff come from?
100%. Like I would say, most, if not all, physical representations, on the skin, skin issues, um, even in internal things, asthma, just all representations, I believe, come from an emotional root. And hence, if you were to remove that root, then there's no reason why the physical representation, and I've seen it happen firsthand, will literally disappear and potentially quite quickly.
Yeah.
So it's really important to address these issues, to facilitate that.
Stop holding on. It's you're not here to suffer, and
Yeah.
go to someone like you, and you have a lovely presence, and you're obviously holding a good space, and then you know how to guide them and point them. And I love that thing you said about pointing them in the right direction, because none of us are gurus. We're all just helping each other. We're all on our own path, so we're actually all our own self leaders. But you point them in the direction and just suggest you might want to. I like that. It's nice because it leaves complete of the number one rule of life, which of course is free will. So you're allowing their free will, but holding the space. It's lovely. It's like you have a very clear purpose and you're holding a lovely space. Tell us about the attachment styles and the shamanic healing. What are those things? How do
So
you?
attachment styles are is quite a well-known subject, and there's a lot of people out there that know quite a lot about it. Through Instagram and YouTube, I'm sure. It's research done back in sort of 60s, 70s, where attachment styles were basically about how you form that bond with your caregivers. And the primary thing was, when you were young, you'd find two or three people that would be your favorite people. Usually one would be your favorite, and essentially most of the time a mother. And so however that mother or that caregiver would treat you could potentially form an attachment bond. So you have essentially secure attachment, which is when people feel good about that, and there's also avoidant, and there's anxious, which is essentially the main ones. So the anxious and uh, avoidant relationship is quite the opposite. And so in adult relationships, those things can come into play. So the anxious would be attracted to the avoidant, okay,
Oh,
and so because they're at far ends of the scale, and so the key
yeah.
is to come back into the middle.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fascinating how these things can pan out from the childhood experiences. So we're very much working towards a place where we can offer that as another therapy, and also intertwine it with the inner child and past life regression, etc. Because all these things can come up at certain times, just randomly. So if you're ready for it, then you can deal with it. In terms of the shamanic healing, again, that is used. I did Reiki to start with. It's along the similar kind of lines, but also employs things like energy extraction and soul retrieval. Now, soul retrieval is interesting because arguably regression is along a similar lines, because you're going back. So let me just get onto that a minute. You're going back in time to basically get a piece of yourself back. So the soul retrieval is doing that, but also so is the regression. So when we do inner child therapy, bringing it back around to that, quite often we'll take you in relaxation. We'll take yourself as you are now, as like an adult. Imagine going back to that school, that playground, or that house that you lived in when you were young. And once that trauma or situation has been resolved and released, usually again through breath work, or just imagining removing that stuff almost like it's pebbles or stones or leaves. As long as it's leaving the body, leaving the energy field, everyone has a different way of doing it. So you will then reconnect with the child. Okay, so you'll go up to that child and you may just talk to them or give them a cuddle or whatever, but reconnect with the child, your younger self. So it's almost like the two parts of you coming together, and then you're going to bring that child back with you from the past, almost like you're adopting it, because essentially whoever was looking after that child wasn't doing a very good job, and so you can. Which also brings me around to the point of the only person that knows what you want is you.
Yeah.
And so this interlinks back into the attachment styles of the favorite person. And so if you are looking at yourself as the favorite person, yeah, then there's
Yeah.
no problem. So a lot of my work going forward will be about taking people back, not only to reduce these and heal these traumas, but also potentially to sort of interlink the favorite person thing into that, so
Mm.
that, because in life, if you can just be yourself and be an independent, healed person, then you don't need anybody to prop you up or to
Yeah.
reassure you, because you are a reassurance within yourself, and
Yes.
you are strong within yourself. So, you know.
Yeah. Definitely. And when somebody comes to you, do they say, can I have some inner child therapy, please? Or do you talk do you talk with them and add in what you feel is needed? You could do a bit of everything, or they come for one particular thing and you add in do you add in what
Yeah,
you need?
yeah. Basically, I think most people, it's like with photography. They don't really know what pictures they want. They just want some pictures. So they come along, they'll stumble into a fair or something, and they'll be like, I don't know why, I just feel drawn to your stall. You know, what do you do? And then you get chatting to them, and then you find out there's this, that, and the other, and it's a case of, well, let's start on that again. All of this stuff is client led, so all of this stuff is driven by you. All I'm really doing is like providing a platform like Windows, or you know, whatever you want to call it, like, and
Yeah.
opening doors, opening windows, if you like, for
Yeah.
you to go through. And in past life regression, and even in a child, we go back through a tunnel of time, or we go back through the light, or we go back, into these times back in your past. It's almost like going back through doors or through windows,
Yes.
to these situations. So
I I feel like time is continuous, and the more I'm opening my mind to this, the more I'm seeing it that there is no end, and it's just a sort of we go through these different lives. We come into this world, we're born, and then we grow up and then live our lives here, and then it goes on, and then we have all these feelings intermingled, all these experiences. It's all just a whole sort of pattern of story continually evolving and growing and changing. I feel time is continuous. And um, well, on that point, I've forgotten what I was going to say. Um, yeah. So, anybody has any questions for Ben? Oh, yeah. So I wanted to say, somebody might think, oh, yeah, maybe my inner child needs healing, and they know that they're drawn to you. So they're drawn to you. That's a key bit that happens for you. Then they're drawn to your stall or drawn to your website or something. But what sort of surface things, manifesting conditions might they have? Could it be anything, any kind of physical conditions or anxiety or phobias, or could it be anything?
a lot of phobias are linked back to past lives. For instance, I had a phobia of spiders for many years, because my mum used to just get freaked out by spiders really badly. Now, I didn't actually focus specifically on removing that, but somewhere along the lines it got lost, it got healed, which was good. I'm still not particularly keen on them, but I'm not terrified. I can deal with it. But
Something, so it wasn't your stuff, so it was softened in you.
a lot of it isn't. A lot of it isn't people's stuff. So yeah, I would say in a lot of cases it's psychological. So like people might be shy, or they might have a certain amount of aggression in them. There's a lot of repressed anger. That's what causes depression, basically. So depression's a massive thing in society, and it's, in my opinion, not treated rightly um, by tablets. And so by going back and removing the repressed anger, there's no depression. Simple.
Absolutely. It's a very different world that we're talking with this therapy kind of thing to Western medicine. It's very different, isn't it? Because that's all about identify the symptom and get rid of it, suppress it, cut it out, make it go away. But then we're talking about something very, very different, that it's a manifestation of what's going on inside, actually. And it might be from years back. What sort
Yeah.
of symptoms have people come to? So people tend to be drawn to you, or just feel it's the right thing for them to explore this kind of therapy with you. But what sort of symptoms do people come to you with? What have you addressed in your experience with people?
Yeah, it can be massively varied, and in a lot of cases, they just don't realize what it could be. And I think, yeah, depression is one of those. But I think it's important to note that this stuff takes work. It's, you don't just take a tablet and it goes away. Well, it doesn't go away. It represses it even
Does
more. It puts
it
a, like,
does it
a
does.
numbing effect on it. And you know, um, this stuff takes work. It takes guts. It takes a lot of bravery, really, to face your innermost fears. But once you get in there, again, it's like going back to when somewhere where you used to live when you were young. You think it's scary, or your old school or something, and when you go back there, it's like, oh, what was I scared of? What was I worried about?
Nothing.
And I was driving down the road and thinking about the time when I first started driving, and suddenly, like, you remember, like, you first get in a car or a bike, and it's terrifying. But like now, you don't even think about it. You think, how did I get from there to A to B? Because you just
Yeah.
automatically. So those things aren't that scary when you go back, really. And even if they are, then just by sitting with them for 20 minutes, half an hour,
20 minutes.
yeah,
Done.
you can really like change your entire life. And there are
Yeah.
there are so many people that we help that do have completely changed their lives around, basically.
Can you share anybody's story
Yeah,
like
I
that?
think I have one client, and they have a whole catalogue of issues, and one specific one was driving. So this was a regression, not so much an inner child. Now the driving was because of being in a car with somebody that was driving fast and dangerously. So we through several sessions we would go back to those incidents and basically relive them. And so in those moments, they may feel, stressed, potentially shaky, sweaty, even. Um, and by going back through them, you can kind of just let that energy go by reliving it. Okay, it sounds strange, but it does
No,
work.
it does work, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing people watching this, they're in my world of sort of healing, so they might know these things already,
Mm.
or trust your feelings, I'd say. Does it feel right? Does it make sense? Because the Western world doesn't show us this, doesn't it? But I totally are on board with what you say. It's like a sort of holding of emotion, a holding of memory, and for whatever reason, we get stuck with things in our bodies, in our behaviors, in our thoughts or whatever. And the Western way says, shove more pills at it, take another pill, just get on with life. Work, 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 work. Just don't think about it. Don't talk about it. Just get on with it. Other people worse off than me. And, take another pill, suppress it. But what I find happens is that your body, your instincts will just keep bubbling up, or life will just keep nudging it at you.
Well, this
So,
is why when a lot of people get into the 40s and 50s, problems start to surface. People start to become diagnosed with certain things because over all those years, you haven't dealt with that stuff, and so it's going to bite you on the ass. It's kind of like it
yeah,
creep up on you, and my dad didn't make it. He was 52 and he died of
wow,
cancer, and I
wow,
mostly put that down to stress
yeah,
from working too hard. Um, Incidentally, by going back through the healing process, I can talk about this like it's just a memory. And so when I say my dad died of cancer, I'm not upset about it. I don't get choked up. I don't get kind of sad about it. It's obviously not a nice thing,
yeah.
but the emotion is not controlling me.
Your behavior, your drive, your life. Exactly. And I always think, things like meditation are something so important for everyone to do, because it takes off a lot of the layers, a lot of stuff. It just aligns us, which is what healing is really, is it? It's bringing us back to our truth, to what's going on, swirling around in us, swirling around in our memories. Would anyone like to ask Ben something? If you just want to wave your hand and I can unmute you. Yeah, absolutely, Brechia, come in. Whoops.
Hello, good evening. I was wondering, so my issue is avoidance, postponing, not taking steps towards, getting a job in the current stage I'm in. I have gone through quite a lot of traumatic events in my life, starting quite young, around I think 12. And it's the events themselves, but more than anything, it's the way I was treated by my parents in regards to all of this. I was put down big time, shoved in the ground, you're bad, you're this, you're that, and the other. And my life came to a sort of standstill 5 years ago when I had a serious car crash. And we're now 5 years later, and I'm still, well, learning day by day more and more that it's the avoidance that is keeping me in my safe bubble. So there's quite a lot, and I know where it comes from. um, I'm learning more and more about this. I'm in Althea's pain-free method program, and it does all connect with each other. But I was wondering if, I don't know, if any advice could be maybe given, as in where to start, because I can't change my past, obviously. I can't change my parents. They have their own traumas, their own past, their own lives. It's sometimes to me it feels like, where do I start, and is this not too big?
Okay, so you can't necessarily change what happened, but you can change the way you feel about it, and that is the key. And
Yeah.
so avoidance comes generally from having a caregiver that ignored you, put you down, didn't really take you seriously, amongst the whole list of other things. Almost like your feelings didn't matter. And take them somewhere else. And so you learn to almost kind of put them in a box and deal with them yourself. So without going into too much detail, you know the score.
Yeah.
Essentially, with yourself, I would want to get a good idea of what went on with your parents, which we'd go through like a sequence of talking about it really for 20 minutes, half an hour. and figuring out like a starting point of what we're dealing with. And then really I'm always keen to just get the subconscious mind involved and just get you straight back in a relaxation back to, and it will always go straight back once, as long as you're ready for it, to the point where you need to go, which is a priority. So like there was a certain event that happened in whatever year, boom, straight back there. Sometimes it'll take you on a little kind of, oh, just try this one out, and then right, let's get into the meat of it. So and it's really a case of going through each of these situations and clearing the energy. And we do that through mostly breath work. And I say, just maybe walking down the beach and just chucking stones in the sea. And you're visualizing that energy, almost you're throwing it away. Everyone does it differently. So, and that is really it. You're basically taking you on a walk through your mind and releasing all this stuff. And obviously, it can take a while, but it is, and you can do some of this stuff on your own once you get going on it,
Yeah, because I even last week suddenly remembered something. It's like, oh my God, this also happened. And I kind of don't really want to, because it's another thing to worry about. I have a very overthinking mind and these things bother me. But so this could take quite a while to.
It may not. You may be able to get it done in six or 10 sessions, but therapy takes as long as it takes. It's, I don't know the full extent of everything that happened, and until we and you probably don't. It's probably a lot of our stuff's kind of got lost in the back there, and you don't want to think about it. But the reason you're thinking about it is because it needs to be resolved. It's like, oh, I need to take the bins out or whatever. It's in the back of your mind. I need to get that done, and so it keeps coming into your mind. It's the same thing with, it's just like dreams. You dream these things, and your subconscious is trying to deal with it in a certain way, and what it's doing is just throwing these things up for you to look at.
Okay, yeah, sounds yeah. And you, because I'm in the Netherlands, so I can't really come over. You could do these things with me like through Zoom.
Absolutely, yeah. I prefer to do through Zoom. I think it's more comfortable for everybody.
Yeah.
And it just in this day and age, it's great. We've got all this stuff, so just make use of it.
Okay. Oh, okay. I assume we can get details and.
Oh yeah, well, I think all the details are below on the descriptions that were. So
yeah, Althea will put that in, I'm sure. So okay, yeah, that's thank you very much. That's good to know.
No worries. Hopefully see you again.
Yeah, gotta start somewhere, hey?
It's not that scary once you get going on it, really. It really isn't. It's all right. It's not great. It's not like watching your favorite TV program, but you'll be surprised how much you can clear in one session, and how you will start to feel lighter and better about everything. Quite.
And maybe get rid of that bloody avoidance, because I know it's the big, thing that is like,
it's all back to
needing to take steps, but being stuck in the no, not now, not today, not just yet, not ready, blah blah blah.
I know very well, yeah.
So thank you so much.
No
Ben,
problem. Thank you.
Feedback.
And I love that. I love that when you're saying that you're thinking about it. It keeps coming up. Something keeps happening. It keeps showing up in your life or your thoughts, and it means you want to resolve it. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's bloody scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of this is positive, and I think I love it when stuff comes up that's unresolved for me. I'm like, come on, let's get this sorted. It's exciting. It's an exciting thing. Once you've been doing it a while, it's an exciting thing to find something that you haven't had a go at, and you can really move forward.
Yeah. I have already had some therapy, a mainstream, I call it mainstream therapy, which only scratched the surface a little bit, and then it was finished. And now I could go into sort of re-scripting, kind of. You go into the traumatic situation, and to deal with the emotions, you're re-scripting it. I don't know, there's a feeling I have about it, and for now I'm like, I'm with Althea, and that feels quite good, and stuff does come up in a softer way or something. But yeah, I don't know, it's a bit of an intuitive thing that I'm like, is this the way?
Yeah, whatever you feel is right. And everything's different for different people, different things for different people, really.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
pop you on mute there. And the only person that knows what you want is you, as Ben says. And Jocelyn wanted to ask a question. Can you unmute there? Do you click on unmute, Jocelyn? That's it.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Ben. Hello, yeah, everybody. Hi. Yeah, just a couple of questions. So this past life regression, what is your method as such? Do you do hypnosis with it?
Yeah, essentially, I use hypnotherapy technique. I find that some people are like, "Oh, hypnotherapy," it's essentially more of a relaxation. Because I do like the fairs, the spiritual fairs. I'm able to do sometimes up to 16 a day. So I only spend like 5 minutes getting people in a relaxed kind of condition. It's not like I spend like hours and hours to get to that point. Some people believe that you do need to, and I can understand that's the case for certain things. I find it
So
works
you
for
do
about
it-
5 to 10 minutes, just walking through a wood, lovely, happy, feelings, just to relax your muscles down a little bit, just get your brain and that. As soon as your subconscious is ready, off we go, basically.
so do some people go into like a deep sleep? Because obviously I've listened to other stuff. Dolores Cannon, she actually used to do a lot of that. I've researched her a lot in the past. I found her very fascinating what she did, and was
Oh, she's
always
amazing
thinking
what she
one
did,
day.
and I know she believed in that really like deep kind of hypnotherapy state, and I think that is necessary for certain things. She obviously been doing it a lot of years. She knows what she's doing. So, but I do
Yeah.
find that if most people have the intention of doing this, not just past life, but the inner child therapy, they are in that kind of happy place to do the work within 5 or 10 minutes. And in fact, some of my clients that have been doing this a while, a lot of the times we'd just be chatting, and then we'd just say, right, just shut your eyes, and we're just going to start talking about that situation. Let's just go straight in. And because they relax, because they're in that kind of that safe place, then their subconscious mind will just go straight to that. You don't need to. There's no big drama about it, really.
Mm. Just another sort of question about having phobias. Yeah, I've got a few of them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the biggest one is the cats. But
Okay.
so yeah, I'm a scaredy cat. So do you think you could help me with something like that? And obviously, I've got a phobia with sharks. Hey ho, but cats obviously they're everywhere. I'm terrified of them. And Alfia, she's one of my friends. She's got about three now. Is it two or three, Alfia? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So can you help with things like that? Um,
Yeah, 100%. It comes from, there's a root with all of this stuff. There is a reason why. It's like there's no smoke without a fire. People go, oh, I've got eczema, I've got, psoriasis, whatever these. Well, it doesn't just happen. It's not just appear. Someone's not painted it on. Excuse me for being like a bit bit blunt, but like it comes from somewhere. So it's coming from probably a past life, maybe when you were
I think
younger.
I think it could have been from my dad because he got bit by a cat when we was all little. There's quite a few of us in my family, and he got bit by a cat. And ever since we were young, he'd be like, "Be careful of that cat. Watch that cat. Careful of that cat." I mean, we love dogs. We're fine with dogs. They can be vicious. Well, I'm not scared of a dog. Comes a kitten, I'll run a mile. So, so I think that may be something to do with it. But just having this horrible phobia of cats, it's like it's really hard having it. It's difficult. Wherever I
Sure.
go, there's cats everywhere. So I think it stems from my dad, whether it's past life as well. I'm not too sure, but just to get rid of that feeling of being scared of cats, it's just horrible.
Yeah, I think like because obviously you would have respected your dad's opinion, and it was quite a strong emotion attachment maybe you had with them, and then to see that going on, it really stuck with you. So it's probably definitely got something to do with it. 100%. Yeah.
You could help with that, then you could
Oh
help
yeah,
me.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would. I'm quite confident we could get rid of that quite quickly. To be fair.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and suddenly
20
you'll have
minutes.
a house full of cats. You'll be fine.
You will have a cat. You
I've
will
got
get
five
them all.
puppies. I've got five dogs downstairs. I've got six puppies at the minute. I'm fine with them. They're just kittens. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, so I'll maybe yeah, obviously get in touch
It's out, no problem.
So
Thursday.
do you do a free consultation, Ben? Can
Yeah,
people chat to
absolutely.
you about their
Yeah,
thing and just find out if you can help them and talk about, because we're in a group here, obviously, and this is going to go out to public, but could Jocelyn, for example, give you a call and you'd have a chat about the details and you can
Yeah,
see what you want to do?
yeah, absolutely. I also to people, I'm happy to chat with them for half an hour just to go through everything, and then if they can potentially then just say, yeah, let's just go and deal with let's get it sorted now. So I'm not too precious about that, so that's fine as well.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay, so we have come to the top of the hour. Any other urgent questions? Otherwise, I'll wrap it up. Okay. So Ben was saying that he's open to he offers some time for consultation, 30-minute consultation, which is free. And if you have a problem, if you feel drawn to Ben and he's talking your kind of, it feels right, it feels interesting, and you feel drawn to him and feeling like you want to have help with what he's doing. So it's even if you're not quite sure if you can help, go and have that free consultation with him and find out. So he does, of course, the inner child therapy, which is hypnosis, it's shamanic, it might be a bit of attachment styles. Maybe you've got some attachment bonds going on there. And Reiki, of course. So multifaceted, multi-able. You can see he's a chill guy, so I'm sure you'll be in very, very good hands. So don't suffer. 20 minutes gone. Might be 20 minutes gone, could be.
100%. But to get in touch, someone's just asked on the text. I think all the links are on the YouTube video when you post it, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They're all going to be together with the replay, and you'll find it on my website with all the details to contact Ben. And do go and have a look at his past life progression. I'll put the link to both so you can find both easily, and you'll have the links how to contact Ben and get your thing sorted out, get that phobia sorted out, get it stopped. What's that going to be like? Don't suffer. Get it sorted. Okay, so Ben, that was extraordinary. I really, really enjoyed that. It was something that is very close to my sort of knowledge of healing as well. So I'm very excited about it, and it's fascinating. It's fascinating. I never used to be on videos and things before, but I found that the more and more and more I get into me, tune into myself, self heal, the more I feel more authentic. So it doesn't matter if you get it right or wrong. You're just being authentically you, and it's a safer world. It feels more comfortable day by day. Healing is a good place. So if you feel drawn to Ben and would like some help from Ben, do please get in touch and don't suffer. Ben, it's been a delight. Thank you so so much for bringing this to everyone's attention and sharing your knowledge about this and what you can do for people. And thank you everybody for joining us tonight and taking part in the podcast. And it'll be on the replay will be available tomorrow. So go and have a look on my website, and it'll all be there tomorrow. Ben, thank you so much. Would you like to say like parting word or comment or a point, a life point, or a observation, or a last? I'd like to leave the last word to you, if I may. A parting word for people to go off into the night and to have a think about.
Yeah, actually, I think there's a lot of people I come across in general life, and obviously through the therapies, where they say a lot of things about their childhood and their parents, or even their partners and their bosses, and essentially what's happening there is they're replaying those events from childhood in their current life. So your problem that you have with your partner or your kids or your parents still, or even your boss, is probably to do with something that happened when you were young, if you really look at it. Now, they will also potentially say, oh, my mum, my dad didn't do it, or my parents or my caregivers didn't do this. It was their fault. Okay, nothing, we can't do that about anything about that necessarily, but arguably we can. So you can go back in time and reparent that child, and then you can give them all the attention and all the love that they need. And by doing that on all those different levels at those different ages, you'll come back to here, back to now, and you'll be exactly what you want to be.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you.